Hello, Birmingham. Thank you. All right. I'd like to welcome you all to my presentation. It is about it is about burnout, a whole bunch of other things. Who am I? I am a DevOps engineer. I have been in DevOps for a long time now. I was in IT before that. You can find me in exactly 3 places online: the Twitters, the Mastodon, and GitHub. I'm at Byron Lagrone, at Level 2 Wizard, and at Byronic, respectively. Now, saddle up, buckaroos. Yeehaw! We're riding into disclaimer country. You might get disclaimered. First of all, these views are my own, very obviously. They don't represent my employer, they don't represent my colleagues, and hopefully they don't represent my best friends. Nobody is qualified to speak about burnout. It is an empty set. If you are qualified, please let me know after the talk. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. So, here's a big one. I am white. You may not have noticed. Not sure. And people assume that because of my skin color and my gender identity, that I belong in spaces by default, like this platform right here, a literal platform. And people will tell you or assume that tech is a meritocracy, but it's not. And if you hear it, they're selling you something. So I do want to add, if you do not feel as though my advice in this space applies to you, that is totally possible. I can only talk about my lived experience, what I've been through therapy, and, being a male in tech. It's one kind of experience. It is not the only kind. Speaking of which, I'm a 99th percentile extrovert, and I love the theater. I love it. It is my favorite place to be. And here we are, here at the theater in Birmingham, Alabama, listening to me talk. It is the best. I love your attention. I love getting to move around and do crazy things on stage. It's my favorite. And here we are. So, we're all a little neurodivergent. If you have not gotten therapy, I will be encouraging you to do so through this, the entirety of this presentation. So watch out for that. Last few, I'm not a lawyer. Even if I were a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your advocate. Nothing that I say should be taken as legal advice, and your mileage might vary. And the obligatory, I do come with batteries, but who knows? So thank you. Let's move on and talk about what burnout is. So I've been on a few DevOps teams, as I hope many of you have, and the connecting thread between all of those teams for me has been that I've been on a team of about 1 to 3 people, some of whom are in this room, so we're like a 1-pizza team. We're way overloaded, right? Our Kanban is stuffed to the max, and we, as a result, often continue to work well beyond our means, well beyond our ability to cope with that work. And we sacrifice our time away from others, our time doing the things that we would like. And for what benefit? Well, the great benefit of hurting ourselves and burning out. A lot of things happen to us when we burn out. I'm not going to read from this slide, but a few of these things are synergistic with other talks that we've heard during the conference. So this is all, kind of in that vein of psychological safety and learning to, have vocalizations at work. But the biggest one for me is when I am late at work, I do tunnel vision. I make new, exciting mistakes because I don't have the mental energy to think of the various and sundry systems that we are building with our infrastructure and how they interact. That is a big, complex system to keep in your head unless you're, writing a cool demo. So the end result of that is that you spend longer at work, and it's this destructive cycle where you spend a long time at work, either your work quality suffers, the quality of life of the people around you has suffered, and you're left with this negative behavior and no balance, and the quality gets worse, and the result is now I have to spend more time at work. I have to do more negative things to try to cope, and sadness. You're right, slide deck. You're right. I love it when I'm in agreement with my own slide deck. Now, some of you might think that hey, I'm not a fire. I can burn as long as I want. But you are. You're either a fire or you are providing grist for the fire of someone else. And there's a reason that we have, terms like the spark of creativity, ignition, brainstorms. These are all fire analogies because it makes sense, right? We can only burn wood for so long until it's just ashes. And, we have different ways that we drive ourselves to do that. The first of those is pretty obvious. We have an internal drive. I hope that all of us are excited to do our job, that we're excited to work, and as a result, we take pride in it. We want to do it right. We want to spend the time to make it correct. And sometimes it's because we made a promise. Sometimes somebody else made a promise on our behalf. And of course, we're all a little bit of the hero in our own story, right? As was talked about in an earlier presentation, we have optimism bias, right? So this could never happen to me. I'm too cool. I went to DevOps days. I learned how to be a better DevOps guy without all those negative behaviors and biases from before. Now I'm basically Luke Skywalker. I'm invincible. You're not. You're not any of those things. That was all irony. Now, I can hear some of you thinking from up here. I hear the grinding of gears of people going, hey, wait a minute. That sounds like it's my fault if I burn out. It's not. We'll get there. We're going to make it. We're all going to make it through this presentation together. So, let's talk about some reasons or some external forces that we might run into as part of burnout. So for a moment, I'm actually going to take a second to talk to the bosses in the audience. This part is for you. The rest of us, those of us with nobody underneath us in the org chart, like me, I would like you to change to the mode of listening to your parents talk about Christmas presents. So we're going to come lean against the door. We're going to listen in. Byron's going to say something to the bosses. And what I'm going to say to the bosses is that people should be telling you no. They should be telling you no more often, more frequently, more of the time. If all that you hear from your employees is, yes, I'll get right on that, and sounds great, and beep, boop, boop, you are either in a Terminator 2 style hellscape and you are surrounded by robots, or you are not hearing no enough. We'll get some more into that later. Of course, our customers want things. They want them now. They would prefer to have had them as soon as they thought of them, and that can create pressure on us to deliver things faster or to make some technical debt trade-offs in order to get that product out the door, or to just spend a long time and burn ourselves out in the hopes that we'll get a handful of I don't remember what the Futurama dollars were. Did they have any value? And of course, there are your coworkers. Now, many of your coworkers are very nice or very evil. So I've tried to represent the spectrum of evil here. But they ask questions like, can we have it? And break his legs, break him. And they're right to ask those things, and it's okay, and we all have what we want, and we're the same, right? We're also our coworkers. We want things from other people. We have internal dependencies. We are waiting on somebody to deliver the new environment so that we can deliver the new tests, so that we can deliver the new product to the customer. And every single time, that creates some form of pressure, maybe too much, maybe just the right amount, on us. And of course, the wider organization has a pull on us as well. So even if you don't have direct colleagues that are providing pressure for you, you may have project managers, or you may have a CEO, or you may have a person who will go up on stage and promise things that you can't deliver. And usually that looks something like, what if I told you? Okay, enough of that. Sorry. So let's talk a little bit about some of the times that I have experienced burnout. Now, this is actually an amalgamation of a few different stories. So if you feel like you've heard this one before, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a few different things. And the burnout you will see is real. So, anybody remember this? I remember this. For a little while, I felt some real solidarity with that boat. Because I was, a few things. I wasn't the only boat. There were some other boats. Why didn't they talk about those boats? In this case, a boat was merges in Git or deployments, and I was the only one who could do it. And turns out that sometimes those merges or those deployments require a lot of manual steps, like maybe your evil coworkers are like, hey, I don't want to solve my own merge conflicts. Can't you do that, Mr. DevOps man? And I went, yeah, I can do that. Why did I say that? Why did I do that to myself? What was I thinking? And so everybody is every day taking a picture next to me, the boat, going, he's still in the harbor, or by which I mean the canal. Yeah, boat metaphors, they're hard. And everybody else was stacking up behind me, taking selfies, and it was really tough. So I didn't have the ability to say no in that situation, or at least I didn't feel like I did. I had taken upon so much pressure on myself, and I had said yes to so many things that the promises that I had made and the things that we needed to get out the door all combined to sort of grind me into the carbon dust that you see before you today. Exactly. There were no no's. You gotta have no's. That's what this presentation's about. I was told there'd be no's. So let's take a look at some. So here's one, left to its own devices. It will swim upstream, up the sidewalk there, and then spawn additional signs. Now, there are many side effects of no. So, take a note of these if you have, you may want to ask your doctor, all that kind of thing. 9 out of 10 doctors do agree that burnout is bad. The 10th doctor did not find the time to fill out our survey. So with that being said, there are a lot of things that a no can give you. The first of those is integrity. It is always great when I hear from someone else, no, I can't do that. Some people get a little weirded out by that when I'm like, thank you for saying that, or that's awesome when they tell me that I can't have what I want. But the reason I like it is because it is authentic. It is a thing that somebody said to me that said, I will not deliver you that thing. And I'm like, I believe you. Rock on. I fully support your right to go home right now and not do that thing. And in some cases, I want to independently verify that you didn't give me that thing either. Because sometimes I'll say to somebody, no, I'm not going to deliver that server. Just don't want to. And then I go home and I think about it and I'm in the shower and I'm like, oh God, I gotta do that thing. And then I end up doing it and then I have an inauthentic no. And it's not independently verifiable because I told you no. And then when we came back on Monday, I was like, it turned out I delivered the thing I said I wasn't gonna deliver. And then I'm sad at myself. So you should do it. You should draw those boundaries. You should say, I'm not gonna do that thing. You should think about it later and go, did I really not deliver it? I was right. I didn't do the thing. And of course, there will be an outcry because sometimes people really want that thing. If I want ice cream or my kid wants ice cream, it's time for ice cream. It's not time to hear a no, but sometimes we have to hear it. We have to hear that no and just say it and withstand the objections. So let's talk about a different kind of case study. In this one, I'm, again, amalgamating a few things, so please, if you were a former colleague of mine, do not take any of this personally. So in these cases, everything gets accepted. You have, in this case, a team of people and at all levels of the organization who have a direct line from every customer external to the company and all the internal customers as well. And none of them really were in a position to say no to anything. So the answer to everything was, yes, I will get right on that. I will do that thing. I am sure that these fires will go away on their own. They don't go away on their own. This went very poorly for everybody, right? So this is an example of toxic positivity. If you haven't heard of that, it comes in barrels. You can find it around old school nuclear plants and around people who say yes to things all the time. And generally, it's hard to get rid of. Once you say yes, it's really hard to turn that yes into a no. And you end up with all the things we've kind of touched on before, like I'm staying up all night. My colleagues are staying up all night. We're angry with each other. We're eating poorly. We're sleeping under the desk. We're sleeping on top of the desk. We're forgetting to sleep at all. How did I end up in Beirut? All kinds of questions. And the end result of that is that you are no longer able, as an organization, once this happens, once you get into a mode where nobody can say no to anything, you no longer have an ability to manage your processes. And when you can't manage your processes, you can't manage your throughput. And when, in our case, 5 different tickets were created by 5 different people that all handled the same piece of code, we had not only the mother of all merge conflicts, but we had incompatible requirements that in some cases we had promised to external customers. And that is a situation that is no fun. Now, just a quick reminder, that's what it looks like. In this analogy, I'm the dog, and apologies to Casey Green, an excellent cartoonist. Now, let's think about some ways that we might solve this problem in the traditional sense. The year 1975. The DevOps, possibly not yet invented, but stick with me here. Look, we're going to do a vacation. That's how we're going to solve this problem. I'm going to send you to Catalina Island for 3 days, and when you come back, you'll be fresh as a daisy, and everything will be fine. Not hearing the yays, okay? Yeah, it turns out it doesn't solve this problem. It does not at all. I refer you to the slide. Yeah. So vacations solve a symptom of burnout, which is spending too much time at work, but they don't solve the cause. Why are we spending too much time at work? So let's talk about some real strategies that actually might help. Again, I refer you to the earlier disclaimer country portion, yeehaw, buckaroos, etc., where we talked about how these are only strategies that I can give you. They are ones that I'm aware of. I'm sure that there are more, and some of these might not be right for you. So with that being said, I'm a huge fan of Leah Pearson. Her statement on Twitter here talking about saying no to things, the little punch card. You can make one of these on an index card and keep it around. Replace ice cream with your favorite thing. In my case, it's video games. And every time that you say no to something, just check it off. It feels great. And you get a little closer to, video games. Now, I did not have time or could not find, or insert excuse here, a good picture of the control and influence circle. But a lot of people will tell you to touch grass, right? That you should go out, you should take a walk, you should do some things. But I don't like to touch grass. Grass is icky. There's lots of living things in it sometimes. It's not very fun. So instead, what I like to touch is the middle part of the control and influence circle, which is the zone of control. So the things that you can control directly are in the inner circle, right? So I can continue whether I continue to give. I can control. Let me start that over. I can control whether I continue to give this presentation, right? At any point in time, I could stop, restate something, do something different. I could just leave, but I promise I will in a little while. But I can't control what you, the audience, do. I can't control things that got built around me, all that kind of thing. In the influence circle, y'all might be in the influence circle. I'm getting kind of influency vibes out here. So some of you might decide to do something based on what I say because you are currently within earshot. You are within my zone of influence, right? And then there's the stuff outside of both of those circles where I have no influence and no control. So if you can't hear me, if nothing that I do matters to you, first, rude. And secondly, I understand. That's how the control and influence circle work. Now, my other favorite thing, some of you may have gotten a preview of this. Kinetic work. We move around, we do things. I have lost my microphone. I'll just hold it. This is a good compromise. So, am I still audible? Yes. Okay. I hope I'm holding this in a good place. So kinetic work is the same work that you do every day, but in different spaces, or while moving around, jumping around, flailing on a stage, as I do. Now, the setting of our work doesn't always matter, right? There are a lot of people that are very excited to get back into the office. I'm not one of those people. I've worked remotely for a very long time. The setting of our work tends not to matter, and the bumping into one another in hallways that you get in a physical office does not outweigh, in my case, the putting on of clothes fee. You should have a putting on of clothes fee as part of your salary ask. Because if they want you to put on clothes and come into work, then That should cost them a little something. Cost you something. I can't just roll out of bed anymore. I have to commute somewhere. And you also, freedom of movement is a good thing. So freedom of movement is the ability, while you're on a call with people, while you're on stage doing things in front of people, here in a theater, to get up and move around. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes it is not the best thing. You know, the microphone is a fickle beast. So, having worked from home for a long time, I do have a few suggestions about doing so. The first of those is, of course, to throw your computer out of the window, work from wherever it lands. Working outside, working in different spaces than what you see every day, especially as we've dealt with COVID, is just absolutely critical. And if you have your happy places, places where you sleep, places where you eat, places where you read books or do your happy things, try to keep work as far away from those places as possible, or keep it behind a curtain. Like, do something where your body doesn't start to associate the bed with sleep and work. That is a great way to have just a whole bunch of negative behaviors. In my case, terrible work-related dreams. Don't have those. Now, co-working locations are a lot of fun if you can afford them, in part because generally you're in a physical space with people who are not your colleagues. And what that means is that you get to watch them suffer, great, and they get to watch you suffer in the cycle of Schadenfreude, which is a marvelous thing. You should do that, right? It gives you some solidarity with other folks that are not the cause of or the solution to your problems. Eventually. Now, if you do not have a microphone and a fancy platform like this one, it can be difficult to find your voice. Some of that too, again, we're back at like the white male problem. It's really easy for me to have a voice in any room that I enter, even without a microphone or platform. So, but it is still important for everybody to remember that we can vocalize our limitations and we can talk to people in places where we have psychological safety. And when we are in such spaces, it is important that we keep an eye out for people using our limitations or the limitations of others as a cudgel against them. So it's important that, we keep an eye out for that if possible, and we can call it out when we see it, and also that we remember not to do that to others. Final part is, of course, therapy. Therapy is not a plant that you buy once and then you keep it at home and it's made of plastic so it just lasts forever. It is a journey, it's a process, it's a thing that you need to do repetitively, consistently, and with the therapist that is right for you. I am not that person, but if you want to talk about it afterward, I can maybe help you find someone who is. So, now let's talk about some actions that we can take that also help us avoid burnout. Nobody reads the slides? I'm excited about nano and pico actions. Now, there are many, 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 many negative microactions that one can take. You might be part of the hustle and grind Twitter entrepreneur lifestyle. You might be trying to turn my talk into an NFT right now, in which case do not do that. Keep me well away from your trapezoid-shaped pyramid schemes. Thank you. But there are 4 kinds of microactions that actually do matter. And you can't probably do all of them at once or successfully. And that's part of why you do them in as little doses and find the ones that you're good at. In my case, I'm a champion sleeper. I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep here right now. Not going to do it. Demo takes too much time, but I promise you I can do it. Some people are good at food and drink, sustenance, the things that we do to keep the machine working. Exercise is another good one, and of course, keeping a clean space, which is sometimes, that one I just try not to think too much about, because never happens. And yeah, I'm going to talk journaling for a second. Journaling. Seriously though, it is worth it. Just like with the punch card, journaling is a way that you can keep track of your successes. It's a way that you can keep track of those times that you got to say no to people. And it's something that you can look back on. We have poor short-term memory. I have worse long-term memory. And it's the only way that I can remember, oh yeah, that one time I wrote that thing and it did that thing and it did it good and I liked it. And I'll do it again. So, what are the takeaways for today? You, every single one of you that is here listening to this, and everyone who is not, who is listening later or I guess pirating this talk, you're worth it. I love each and every one of you, and I want you to know yourselves. I want you to be yourselves, and remember that burnout is bad. I don't know what the current standard for burnout is in most languages, but it's bad. Try to avoid it if you can. So let's keep this going. If you can see me, you can at me. We'll talk. I have not yet posted the slide deck or notes to this GitHub repository yet, but they will be coming soon, sometime today. And you can come check them out, see what you think. You can enter issues. You can throttle me in person at the conference if you prefer. I'll love to talk about this with y'all. So thank you.